Story 1. The small town of Ravenswood was plagued by a terrifying creature known as the Dogmen. It was said to be a creature that was half man, half dog, with glowing red eyes, razor-sharp teeth. It was a creature that but the people of Ravenswood, Canada, knew it to be all too early. It had been attacking and killing their livestock for months, and the town was in a state of crippling fear. Citizens couldn't go one night without hearing the next dawn or whatever's home being picked away at night. Who among them, they always wondered, could stand to such a terrifying scourge? The beast, this Dogman, had proven to be too much for even the Manitoba State Police to handle. That is, until one man decided to stand from the crowd. Jack, a young man, known for his bravery and hunting skill, decided that he was going to put an end to this, but he couldn't do it alone. So he gathered a team of all the best hunters he could find in the town, far and wide, having displayed their skills in a test in a game hunt, and set out in the woods to hunt the Dogmen. As they entered the woods, the atmosphere was eerie and the air was thick with tension. On all sides, the trees around them were thick, close together, boxing them in. Looking around, each and every one of them knew there was no getting out of this forest. There was no turning back. Only they, or Dogmen, would be leaving alive. One night they sat around the campfire, discussing their next move. They heard a blood-curdling howl in the woods. They knew they had found their target, but where? It sent a chill down their spines. They quickly packed up camp and set out to track the howl. As they followed the howl deeper into the woods, the trees grew thicker and the darkness more intense. They knew that they were getting close. Suddenly, they came across a clearing, and in the center of the clearing stood the beast. It was even more terrifying than the legends had described it. It stood on its hind legs, towering over the hunters, and its glowing red eyes locked on its prey. "That's it," said Jack, his heart pounding in his chest. The hunters realized that their weapons and prepared to fire, but the Dogman was too fast. With lightning speed it charged at them, razor-sharp teeth bared, ready to rent flesh from the bone. Without even a single worry of them doling, the hunters fired, but their bullets seemed to have no effect on the creature. "We have to take it down now," Jack shouted. The hunters fought bravely, but they were no match for the Dogmen. He was far too strong, far too fast, and just far too ferocious. Jack was thrown to the ground and thought that it was the end for him. He watched his two companions were slammed into a tree, instantly crushing them to paste. The third, Jack watched in horror. All he could do was the Dogman lifted the poor bastard by his head and ripped it clean from her shoulders, dousing both of them in warm, metallic crimson. Jack had all but given up hope. There was nothing he could do. His men were dead. The Dogman would have had him next. The Dogman approached the ground, quaking in fear with every step he took foul. Snarling, the Dogman opened his mouth. Suddenly, Jack remembered something's gonna hurt. He remembered the legend of the Dogman and how it may be defeated. For, like many creatures of native lore, they all bore a very distinct weakness to seal feather. With a surge of strength, that rose to his feet and pulled out a silver knife. The Dogman turned to face him, snarling defiantly, and Jack plunged the knife in the heart with a furious roar. The creature let out a blood-curdling howl and fell to the ground, dead. Jack stood, adrenaline forcing his heart to thump and pound his chest harder than ever could. We did it, Jack said, his voice shaking with emotion and angst. The town is safe. He had returned the Ravens were to hear his greeting and cheered and congratulations from the townspeople. Jack went to see the report what happened. Oh God, Jack, I can't thank you enough, the matter said. A look of relief flashed on his face. The Doghound has been terrorizing our town for too long. You saved us all. It was my pleasure, sir, Jack could reply grimly, but I couldn't have done it with 11 of my men. God rest their souls. Jack couldn't believe it. He had never thought of himself as a hero, but to the town he was, he felt this sense of pride and accomplishment wash over him, but their victory was short-lived, as they soon realized that the Dogman was not the only creature terrorizing their town. The legend of the Wendigo was also true, and it had been seen recently in the forest. Jack knew he'd have to act fast before he does any real harm to the town. But for Jack, it was never about the glory and fame. It was about protecting the innocent and keeping his community safe. It was a duty he would always be willing to undertake, no matter the cost. So, Jack continued to hunt monsters, his courage and determination never faltering, always ready to face whatever horrors lay ahead. Story 2, featuring Azrael Weatherkai.
8 a.m. You wake up. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining its bright orange morning glow over the city. It's the kind of day that just seems to make people happy. It's Saturday and all of your friends are out of town. You decide to take an early morning walk. So you throw on your windbreaker, get that fancy new hat you bought, slap on some shoes, and you're out the door. You can either walk a half a mile to the stream or admire the city. A nature walk would be nice though. Yeah, let's go with the stream. 8:45. You made it out of the city and into the wild. You smile. Something about this day is making you very happy. The sun's still shining its bright orange glow and there's a slight breeze. You take a seat on a rock along the stream. Go ahead, plug in your headphones and listen to your music. You won't be disturbed. 9:15 a.m. You need entertainment. You start to skip a couple of rocks or tear up a leaf or two. That's all you need. It doesn't take much to occupy you. 10 a.m. You walk further down to find a shadier spot. By now the sun's soft blooming shine turned into a violent light storm of bright yellow and a piercing white. You walk a good way from the stream to find an area dense with trees. It took you a while to find the spot. It's December and most of the trees are dead, providing a little to no shade. 11 o'clock a.m. It seems to be getting darker outside, unless it's your mind playing tricks on you. It's only 11, it should be getting brighter, shouldn't it? You shake it off, it's probably nothing. 11:15 a.m. It's only been 15 minutes, and you swear it's already 7 p.m. at night. Why is the sun starting to set so early? You swear it's only 11:15. You're getting paranoid. You'd better go home. 12:45 p.m. You're lost. It's inexplicably dark, and all those nights you stayed up late reading about those urban legends and rituals don't help a thing. This is great. You think back to what you've read. You remember reading an article that talked about how one simple thing you did, you could change your life drastically. You remember the things that you did today. 1 o'clock p.m. It's that leaf. You just think, you know it. You tore up that leaf. It must have changed something. Changed something with the wind or something dumb like that. Something that made it cloudy. You look up at the sky. The only thing you see is black at this point. You look away from your phone. Now, terrified. There's not a thing in sight. It's that leaf. I swear to God, I never should have touched that damn thing. You sound crazy. There's nothing you could do to stop your paranoia. It's taking over your brain. Somehow deep in your mind you think a simple torn up leaf out of all things could be the cause of all this. The only thing keeping you remotely sane is a little light emerging from your phone. 6 o'clock p.m. You sat around for too long. Your legs hurt. When you stand up you realize something, but it's the something that you realize is nothing. Just nothing. You look down, nothing. You look up, nothing. Side to side, nothing. You run in terror, but from what? There's nothing to run from. The only thing to run from is yourself, and good luck trying to get that. You start screaming, having a fit. This can't be happening. But it is. It's that leaf. It's that leaf. You yell over and over and over again. But to who? No one cares. No one's listening. Are you yelling to someone? You don't even know who you're yelling to. At this point, you can't even tell if you're yelling anymore. You can't tell if your eyes are open or if you're even standing up. But wait. You swear I saw a light. Where'd it go? You see it again. It's moving. Where'd it go on? Now that there's faces everywhere. Why, you ask yourself. What did I do to deserve this? You've disrupted them. The faces have bodies, or what look like bodies, mangled and twisted bodies. You've disturbed them. This sight, somehow, now they're all looking at you. They're getting closer. I don't think they like you. You close your eyes. They're still there. You start tearing and scratching at your eyes. You can't even feel the pain. You just want their image out of your head. You feel your blood dripping everywhere. 25 days later, you're awake. Now there's white. No, never mind. That's the light. You realize your surroundings. You're in a hospital bed. A patch is over your right eye. You get your clothes and papers and leave. Home. Home is the only thing on your mind. You don't even question what happened on those 24 nights. You try to forget that anything ever happened at all. If someone asks, you just shrug it off and change the subject. You lift the patch. It's nice to know that you're missing an eye. It's late in the afternoon. It's your first night home in almost a month and you want to sleep. You go to your room. Look at your bed. Leaves. Torn up. All over your bed. You quickly turn around and reach for the door. There's no door. You turn around.
Story 3. The person in the kitchen was not his mother. After a few hours in the hour it took him to finish his paper route, something had changed. Whoever or whatever was in the kitchen looked and sounded exactly like his mother. But it wasn't. He couldn't pinpoint what gave it away. Her hair was done in the same pinned-up style she usually wore. She sounded the same as she always had, a slight lift to her voice that made her sound if she were singing, even when she was just talking. When they left this morning, she was wearing the same dress that this person is wearing now. Not a similar dress, the same dress. He had memories of her mother in that dress. Several years ago on a clear night, her mother, father, sister all sat around a bonfire and made s'mores. They often looked back at the memory of their mother ripping marshmallow under her dress that was so hot it ate a hole through the material. The brisk night sky of upper Yukon, the crisp cold and warmth of the fire, reaching both of us at the same time. You could see the tiny, almost invisible hole in the hem of the blue and yellow checkered dress right now, but that thing beneath was not the woman he had known for 17 years of his life. Although it felt like hours, all these thoughts shot through his brain in a matter of seconds as he walked into the house. As the door clicked behind him, the thing in the kitchen turned around to face him. It was her face, but not. Her eyes were a little off, too turned up at the corners. Her smile was almost exact, save for her dimples his mother had in her cheek. A chill went through his entire body as its eyes locked onto his, and it smiled. He was frozen in place, completely paralyzed with fear. "How'd it go, hon?" it asked in his mother voice. "Good," he managed to stammer out. He knew he was sweating, fidgeting. He was barely able to keep his entire body from shaking. It smiled and faltered for a second, quickly recovering. "Can I get through anything?" it asked with mock concern. He shook his head no. Looking at the floor. "I'm going to my room," he mumbled, and turned his head and his heel, his heart pounding at the idea of giving his back to his threat. Luckily, he had only to make a few steps before he heard the sound of keys in the front door. His dad would know what to do. Know how to figure out what was going on. He raced around the corner into the front door, only to stop dead in his tracks. Someone that looked like his father was closing and locking the door behind him. No. It was his dad. Wasn't it? Story 4, featuring Doslin Brock.
Call this story The Premonition. The Premonition. This is a true account of what happened. This story takes place around 1963 in Niagara Falls, Ontario. To bring you back to what was going on at this point in history, Canada recently received its newly elected Lester Pearson as Prime Minister. The Americans were heavily invested in a war in Vietnam, and Beatlemania was hitting the sound waves, and the population was about half of what it is today. School had just ended, and the summer heat was incredible. I was 13 at the time of this story. Me and several of my friends spent much of our time outside playing baseball, tennis, and games of chase. We also enjoyed riding our bikes and exploring the quarry where the cable cars were at, not to mention walking down along the bank by the Niagara River. It was a weekday and me and 6 of my friends were exploring the banks of the Niagara River. There was a pathway that we followed and started exploring around. We found this cave, and despite the many signs that held warnings, we still entered in exploring it. You see, these were man-made caves. They were drilled out years ago to help prevent the banks from caving in. They had big plates in there to help prevent landslides and rocks from falling down. While wandering through the caves, we found an area that let in just enough light and had a large enough space that would be perfect for a sleepover. After coming across this cave, we all thought about it and talked about camping there. We thought it would be tons of fun. We planned for it this coming weekend. Now, what parent is going to let their child camp out in a cave that obviously has a bunch of warning signs saying no trespassing, don't enter, unsafe? Well, we decided not to tell our parents. We instead decided to tell our parents that we were going to be staying at one another's houses in order to kind of confuse them and not really allow them to know what was going on. That night, I went to bed, and I had this really bad dream. I dreamt that we were sleeping in the caves. And in the middle of the night, while we were all sleeping, we heard a really loud sound in this cave. Someone suddenly shouted, "Come on everybody, you gotta get out of here, the cave, it's caving in, come on guys, let's go!" Just then, I couldn't get my zipper undone on my sleeping bag. I rushed to get out of there, and just as I heard the noises caving in around me, suddenly I woke up. I woke up covered in sweat. Oh, thank God this was just a dream. Oh man, panic just erupted in my heart. I woke up at home. You see, I didn't sleep in the caves that night. My parents didn't want me to stay at anybody's house that night, so when I asked them to stay at a friend's house, they said no way. In fact, the same thing happened to Gary, but 5 of our friends went and stayed down in those caves. And after having this dream, I just had a really bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. Gary lived in the house behind me, so I rushed over to go get him. "Gary, are you ready to go? We gotta go check out and see what's going on." He was just eating his cereal. He invited me to sit down, and to be honest, I wasn't really hungry. I was still recovering from that dream. I told him everything that I had dreamt about. Next thing you know, we're on his bike and we're headed down to the Niagara River. There was something about being nervous and excited at the same time. I wanted to see how our friends made out. Man, it must have been an awesome, awesome sleepover. But as we started getting further and further down the road, what I seen was lights, ambulances, police cars. My gosh, what happened? Me and Gary got closer and closer. We walked up and asked, "What happened here? What's going on? What's all the commotion?" A man stood down beside us and said,
"Listen, son, there were 5 boys that were down in that cave. There's a cave-in. One of them escaped, but 4 of them were buried alive."
Suddenly, hearing that, it was like my whole world was ending. I stumbled and sat down, and so did Gary. We were unable to stand at that point. We just sat there, not knowing what to say, feeling panic and shock and everything all at the same time. My dream just came back to me, just standing out in my mind. What if we were in that cave that night? What if the cave-in happened and we died? What about our friends? We walked back home. We told our parents everything. And about a week later, we attended the funeral for 4 of our friends. The one friend that survived, he was so shaken up and so disturbed by it all, he had to go get some help. We never heard from him again. That was the craziest dream I've ever had. And to be honest, the most frightening. Perhaps the next time you have a dream, it may be trying to tell you something. Thanks for listening. Stay scared.